Quorum Radio, baby.
You're listening to Quorum Radio on WRMI 5850 kilohertz.
But I am not going to farm 1,000 acres if they're just going to take it. They're going to demand that I give it to them for paper that I can't buy anything with. So the whole thing collapses when you start to once you hyperinflate the currency, and we're on that road when you start just saying every part-time bartender is going to get $600 a week. Where's that money coming from? It's just digital. Sure. It's just digital Zimbabwe dollars.
Right. Sure. So which brings me back to Matt Kilmer, of course. So Matt Kilmer, listen, and the adventures of Matt Kilmer. What is he doing besides selling petroleum at an abandoned NATO base? Dan
Kilmer has to maintain the boat because that's the only land that he owns. That's his only sovereign territory. Everywhere he's an outsider. And if he can't come up with the equivalent in gold or silver or other commodities of 10 or 15,000 of today's dollars, then he'll lose the boat just by it going to ruin. So he's motivated, and he's got to travel because different countries are in different stages of collapse. So in the novel, his goal is to get to Uruguay, where they still have, according to the shortwave radio,
Mr. Allman.
They still have functioning boatyards, and you can get paint in Uruguay. So so based on that rumor, he's ready to sail from Ireland to Uruguay. But
he save his boat.
Right, and because his long-term crew, Dr. Aylman, which is spelled like Alemán in Spanish and Aylman in English, who is from Argentina, who's a bastard child of a Nazi. Anyway, he's when he's in an English country, he pronounces the name Aylman, and when he's in a Spanish country, Alemán. But he wants to go back to Argentina, and Dan
doesn't he have a girlfriend back there, Matt? Doesn't he have a girlfriend?
No, his wife was dead there, and he's really just a bitter old guy with nothing. Just all he owns is on the boat also. So when he wants to go visit Argentina, he's getting older. That's the setup in Ireland, but of course they get detoured to Morocco for the point of the novel, Matt, which is rescue.
Right. So then we go back to contemporary America, the Red Mirage. They're talking about that a lot, which I guess is going to be that they're prepping us for it, which is the big steal. That basically we're going to see Donald Trump absolutely thrashing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And, it's just an absolute blowout. But they're saying, well, wait, we haven't gotten to the mail-in ballots yet.
Well, they have to get past Election Day to know how many ballots they need. So if they they figure out we can swing Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Florida, and we just need 100,000 votes in those three states, then they're just going to keep counting until they got them.
Right,
this is what the Democrats have. Yeah, they'll just counterfeiting them, whatever. And the judges are also Marxists. See, this is part of the problem when your country is turning Marxist over a generation.
No integrity.
Yeah, but coming out of college, going into law school, your mindset is, how can I advance, the collective? So maybe I do it by being an attorney in court. Maybe I do it by being a judge and letting people off who are Marxists and putting people in jail who are free market, patriotic capitalists.
Or people with integrity.
Well, this is why Kyle Rittenhouse is in jail for the Kenosha shooting, which was self-defense. We've all seen the tape. And the guy in Portland is walking around free giving TV interviews after admitting that he shot the guy, unarmed guy in the chest, cold-blooded murder. So once you've got this system, when we get to the Red Mirage, which refers to, it'll be a mirage that Trump won on November 4th. Then comes the blue wave of just votes and votes and votes they're going to find. So
they're going to call it a mirage, Matt. They're going to call it a mirage. It's going to be reality.
It's going to be, well, the mirage is that Trump won. You'll think that he won on November 4th. But all November 4th is going to serve to do is to tell the Democrats how many mail-in ballots they need to find and where. So it gives them the yardstick. They'll know, oh, in Florida, we need 100,000. In Michigan, we need 40,000. And then when they make these counterfeit or bogus, or they keep finding trunkfuls of ballots, it'll go, and the Republicans will say, that's not valid. The signatures were all the same. It was printed on a Xerox machine, and look, they all have the same crease mark, the same whiteout spot.
Yeah, right.
The judge will say they look valid to me.
Sure.
Then what?
Then what? The Civil War. Then
it's a civil war. Right.
Right. And then, by the way, what's the name of this guy? What's the name of this guy up in Portland that, there's that video. Hey, we got him. He's a Trumper. Right? And they killed the guy.
They killed
What's the name, Matt? What's the name of that guy? Do you know?
The guy who was killed, or the guy that?
No, the killer, the murderer, the guy who killed. Yeah,
the murderer is Michael, and it's funny, it's another German name. In Kenosha, there were mostly German names. Common spelling, Reinl, and it's unusual. It's like R-E-I-N, like Rhine, O-E-H-L. Reinl. Yeah. Looks vaguely German. But
what is known of Michael Reinl, person of interest in Portland killing?
Yeah, and he's been arrested like 3 times. But he gets arrested, and then he's always let out. You see, he gets arrested at protests, beating people or pulling guns on people, and then the communist DA says, "Go forth and sin no more," and then he does it the next day, and he gets out again.
Sure, yeah, Michael Forrest Reinl. I had no choice. I mean, I had a choice. I could have sat there and watched them kill a friend of mine of color. I wasn't going to do that.
But there's absolutely nothing that gives credence to anything like that. The guy lived there. The guy he shot lived there. So people say, well, why did they come into Portland? The guy that was shot didn't come into Portland. He lived there. That's where he lived. He was like in the neighborhood that he lived in. He was somebody who wasn't going to be run out of town just because communist insanity was taking over. He was somebody that was, in essence, standing his ground. And the name of his group tells you how unhinged these communists are, because the name of his group is Patriot Prayer. Okay? Patriot Prayer. And that they hate. They hate it like the devil hates holy water.
Absolutely.
They hate it like Dracula hates a cross.
Yeah, silver cross,
They hate, right. So to them, patriot and prayer on a hat is to them worse than a swastika.
All right, yeah, Linda Blair, The Exorcist,
So when he says, I wasn't going to let him kill my friend of color or whatever, it's like, what are you talking about? It sounds like this guy, it sounds like Reinl, it's almost out of one of my novels or short stories, because he was clearly selected to be a shooter. Because when they're in the different videos that with audio that were taken right before the shooting, I mean, it's clear they were tracking these guys. They had been directed. Somebody with a camera phone had told them from like 3 blocks away, hustle down this, around the corner down this street. There's some Trumpers down here. Then they come up on them, and it's like, that's the guy, pull it out, meaning the gun. So the people with Reinl are directing him. He's like the designated shooter, because he's like super crazy, super like, his posts on social media are all like, we have to raise it to killing. We'll never have victory until people are willing to kill and die. So that's what he was willing to put on Twitter. Right? That he was willing to put that stuff on social media. So you can imagine what he was telling his comrades in private.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Tim McVeigh.
They knew
Tim McVeigh, we need a body count.
But they knew that this guy, Timothy McVeigh was much more of a self-directed person, his own planner. Whereas this guy was strictly somebody that they could have aimed at a cop to shoot. They could have said, we have to kill a cop, and he would have done it. They would have said we
That's
have to
right.
kill a fat white woman, and he would have done it. He's just like a conduit with and they had to tell him, pull it out. That's him. Do it.
Oh, amazing, huh?
Right. He's probably got a
Command and control.
Had him under control. They had a team on the scene. They picked up the brass. They had a complete team. I mean, it was a hit team. It was a hit team. And it was coming a couple days after. It came a couple days after Kenosha, and there were people saying, basically, we have to get revenge. We can't let this, white supremacist, Kyle Rittenhouse, and they call him a Nazi. We can't just let him kill our comrades and not answer blood for blood. So
oh my gosh!
I think that the word was out. We gotta take a reciprocal shooting.
Right. And so I mentioned this to you last night about creative destruction media, CD media that L. Todd Wood runs. It's kind of like a Breitbart site, and he says that the reason why Brennan and all the rest were trying to postpone or fight the Muslim ban, the so-called Muslim ban, which is basically a restriction on dysfunctional governments where you can't trust a passport that's issued. So they block Syria and other countries like Iraq, that were just not trustworthy for a while. That's what Trump wanted. Well, the reason they wanted to fight that was that they wanted to bring in all these jihadists who were going to train Antifa.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Well, no, but I mean, I don't rule anything out, and I know that there were Antifa people in Syria training there.
Yeah, I thought, a friend of mine used to be in the U.S. Army. He's running for Congress. He mentioned that, and I said, dude, you're crazy. And then I hear it, and I saw pictures. He showed me some pictures. So then I heard L. Todd Wood say this, and one big connector in all of it is Ukraine. It's a huge, massive slush fund of billions of dollars.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And the State Department, the woman whose name begins with a Y, who was like surveilling conservatives on social media. Yeah,
Yanovich.
Who totally lied in the hearings and everything else. She was a Soros stooge. She had two hats. She was wearing the U.S. State Department hat and the George Soros hat. She was doing everything she could for the open society, quote unquote.
Right. Sure. So that's, of course, and they had the Vindman twins doing their bidding, at least one of them. The Colonel Vindman, in the White House, listening on Trump, being appalled, shocked at quid pro quo.
Charamella still no consequences for that guy, that CIA stooge that was working with the whole deep state coup the whole way. Charamella.
Oh, you mean Kleinsmith?
No, Chiaramella, CIA. Ramello.
Oh, right, Chiaramella, sure. Oh, that name you can't mention. You can't mention
Chiaramella, right. It was an unmentionable name. Exactly.
Right. Well, it probably still is, you know.
Yeah.
You follow where all the bones are buried. And
That's right.
Look what happens. So anyway, Matt, listen.
And they're just trying to get past November and bring Biden back in, and then it's back to running the country. But I think that they're using this civil disorder as like an engine, as like a crowbar. But what they don't realize is they're trying to just moderate it. Like, I'm going to let a tiger loose, but only a little bit. But once you let the tiger loose, the tiger has its own plan. So I don't think that they're going to be able to control this thing. They've let the genie out of the bottle, and it's going to run where it runs. So I don't, win or lose, I think we go to a civil war now.
To say it's unfortunate is about the most ridiculous platitudinous statements.
It's terrible.
You look at what happened in the Civil War in our country. The number of people killed and maimed.
And this will be worse because it'll be like, Rwanda times Bosnia times Argentina dirty war. It's going to be brutal.
Good talking to you. Well, listen, Matt Bracken, author of The Red Cliffs of Sirhoan. Matt, thank you again for being on Quorum Radio.
Good night.
And we look forward to the next one. Thanks a million. Bye-bye.